Today we're going to be talking about 9.2 percents and proportions. This is a formula we're going to use a lot today, so I want you to go ahead and write this down. Is over of equals P over 100. The is the number that follows the word is, and it's going to be the part of the fraction. The of is the number that follows the word of, and it's going to be the whole part of the fraction. And then the p is the percent. So it's going to be really simple. If you had something that had 30%, do you think that I would plug this into the is, the of, or the p? The p, right there, because that's the percent, okay? Now, if I said something like 5/10 of the class is here. Out of the 5/10, which one is the part of the fraction? The 5 or the 10? The 5, okay? So that right there is my is. 5/10, 10 is the whole number. How many people are there, okay? So let's go ahead and go on here. Number 1, use a proportion to answer the question. My question for problem A says, what percent of 30 is 3? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with that formula that I gave you at the very beginning of class today that says is over of equals P over 100. So I want you to go ahead and write that formula down. Then what we're going to be doing is we are just going to be plugging things in right there, okay? So it asks me what percent of 30 is 3? If you look at your notes, the of, what is the of going to be? Look at your definition right there beside the word of. What does it say? Read me the definition. What number follows the word of? 30. Okay, so we're going to plug in, instead of this of right here, I'm going to go ahead and plug in a 30. So something over 30, because it says of 30, equals P over 100. Do you guys see what the is? 3, because it's the number that follows the word is. So 3 over 30 equals P over 100. Do you guys remember doing cross multiplication before? Yes. All right, it's been a little while, but that's how we find the proportion. So we're going to go ahead and multiply these together to find out what P, or what the percent, is. So I'm going to multiply 3 times what number? 3 times 100, and I'm going to multiply 30 times what? Okay? Noah, help me out. What's 3 times 100? 300 equals 30p. Cooper, my goal is to get p by itself. How do I do that?
Divide by 30.
Okay, so I'm going to divide by 30 on both sides because I've got to be fair. I'm left with p on this side. And plug it in your calculators. What's 300 divided by 30? What is it, guys? What's 300 divided by 30? 10. Now, let's look back up here at what my question says. It says, what percent of 30 is 3? So my answer should actually be 10 what? 10%. Okay, so always go back to that question to see what it asks. 10%. And that is the answer. Problem B says, 51 is 17% of what number? This is the same idea as problem A, but it is worded differently. So we've got to kind of figure out, but we're still going to use the same formula. What's the new formula that I taught you for today?
Is over of equals P over 100.
All right, everyone say it together.
Is over of equals P over 100.
Okay, so we're going to see if we can figure out what we need to plug in. One of them is going to be unknown because that's going to be what we're looking for. But we will have one, either the is, the of, or the p. There's one of them that is super easy to find and to spot if it's there. Do you guys know which one I might be talking about? Which one? The percent. Why do you think it might be easy to figure out if the percent is there or not? Because it has a percent sign. So this right here is screaming, that is the percent. So that's the real obvious one. So I can go ahead and plug in right now, 17 over 100 equals, now I've got to figure out what my is over of is. One of them is there and one of them is not. What does it give me, the is or the of? It gives me the is. What's my is? Okay, it says right here, 51 is. Okay, so I'm going to plug in the 51. And then if you look right here where it says of what number? I don't know what the number is, so I'm just going to go ahead and put an X because it's unknown. All right, so now we're going to once again cross multiply. to try to see if we can find out what x equals. What should I do, Nolan? Okay, 51 times 100 equals?
510.
But what do I put on the other side?
Oh, and then you get x, 17x.
17x, okay? So what was 51 times 100?
510.
Not 510.
Oh, wait.
Use your calculator.
5,000.
5,100 equals 17x. Caitlin, what should I do? Divide by 17 on both sides because you got to be fair. This cancels out. I'm left with plain old x on that side. What's 5,100 divided by 17? What is it? Uh-huh. 300 is correct. Now let's go back to the original question that it asked us. 51 is 17% of what number? Should my answer be 300%? No. If you look back at the question, it says of what number. It does not ask me of what percent. So your answer is 300. Let's go on to the next one, problem C. What number is 14% of 350? What's the formula I'm going to use?
Is over of equals P over 100.
Is over of equals P over 100. Who can help me with what to plug in? Noah, go ahead. What's the easy one that I can figure out just by spotting it? Okay, 14%. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in, 14 over 100. Now, which one does it tell me, the is or the of? The of, okay? Remember, it's whatever follows the is or follows the of. What follows the of? 350. So do I know my is? Nope, that's my unknown that I'm trying to figure out. Now, I do not care which way you do this. You could do it with algebra, or you could do it with cross multiplication that we did before. This one won't necessarily work out with an equivalent ratio. So, who would like to do it for me the algebra way? Do you remember how to do it? You want to get x by itself. So what's not letting x be by itself? The 350. How do I get rid of that divide by 350? What's the opposite of divide by 350? Multiply, okay? So if I multiply by 350 on this side, I got to be fair to the other side, okay? Now, once again, I do not care if you guys do it. Whichever way you want to solve the proportion is fine with me as long as you figure out what x is, okay? What's 14 times 350?
4,900.
Okay, divided by 100, and what do you get for your x?
49.
Okay, now if I go back to my question, it says what number is 14% of 350? Is this a number?
Yes.
So do I need to put a percent sign? I do not. Your answer is 49. How many of you guys did it the cross multiplication way? Did you guys still get 49? Okay, excellent. Next one says, what percent of 3 is 1? So my formula, what is it?
Is over of P over 100.
Okay. Does it tell me what my percent is?
No.
No, I'm going to be looking for that. Does it tell me what my of is?
Yes.
What is it?
3.
Okay, look right here. Of 3, so I know 3 is going to be for my of, is 1. So what's my is?
1.
1 equals P over 100. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and do cross multiplication. 1 times 100 equals 3 times P. So I've got 100 equals 3P. I want to get that 100 by itself. Go ahead and plug this in your calculator to tell me what you get when you plug in 100 divided by 3. What do you get?
33.3.
Okay, 33.3 repeating. Now let's go back. My question asks me what percent of 3 is 1. So do I need to attach anything to that? Should I just leave it as 33.3 repeating?
No.
What do I need? A percent sign. So make sure you put that percent right there. And that is your answer. Okay, 33.3%. Next one, problem E. My formula once again is
Is over of equals P over 100.
is over of equals P over 100. Do I have anything that's obvious that I know I need to plug in?
Yes.
What is it?
32%.
32%. Okay, so I'm going to plug that in first because I know how to figure that out real quick. Now I got to figure out what else does it tell me. Does it tell me the is or does it tell me the of? It tells me the of. What's the of?
The 200.
200. If you look right here, it says what is. So I know that's kind of a mystery. I haven't quite figured it out yet. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in that x. All right. Once again, we're doing proportions here. So is there any way that I could do this with an equivalent ratio? Is there a clear link between these two right here? Do you know how I could get from a 100 over to a 200? Multiply by 2. Okay, so I could do times 2 equals 200 times 2 equals x. What's 32 times 2? X equals 64. All right, so that is a way that you could have figured it out. How many of you would have figured that out a different way? Which way would you have done, Timothy? Cross multiply. Okay, you can definitely do the cross multiply way if you would prefer that. I am not going to be picky. Okay, if you had done cross multiplication, you would have done x times 100 and 200 times 32. Okay, would anyone have chosen algebra? Nobody's an algebra fan in here. That's okay. Okay, we have one. All right, so once again, I am not picky about how you get it, but here's what it says. What is 32% of 200? The answer is 64, so you want to go ahead and box that in. Okay? Last one for today. A company is accepting applications for new hires. They can only hire 60 out of the 300 applicants. What percent of the applicants can the company hire? A company is accepting applicants for new hires. They can only hire 60 out of the 300 applicants. What percent of the applicants can the company hire? We're going to be using the same exact formula that we've used all day. Is over of equals P over 100. Do you see any kind of a thing in there that's screaming, this is what the percent is? Yes or no? No. So I know I'm looking for my percent. You can also see the question, it says what percent. So I don't know what the percent is yet. So now the tricky part is trying to figure out which one is going to be the is and which one's going to be the of. If you look back at your notes, I want everyone to turn to the front of your notes for me, please. Look next to where it says is. What is the definition that I gave to you for the word is?
The number that follows the word is.
Okay, the number that follows the word is. But the key thing I want you to notice for this is the little thing that I put in parentheses. What word is in the parentheses? Part. Okay, so the is going to be the part. Do you guys notice what key word comes for the word of? Whole. All right, so is over of is the same thing as part over whole. If you look here, the whole amount of applicants that are there are 300. Okay, so I know that's going to be my of, 300. Now, they can only hire 60. They can hire part of those 300 people. So notice that the part is going to be my is. So here we go. 60 over 300 is my is over my of equals P over 100. Now, I'm going to just go ahead and choose to do the equivalent ratio way because it's going to probably be real simple. If I have right here 300 to 100, how do I get from a 300 to a 100? Divide by 3. So I'm going to divide by 3 on bottom, which means I have to divide by 3 on top. What's 60 divided by 3? 20. Now my question asks me, what percent of the applicants can the company hire? So my answer is what? 20%. All right, be careful with your percent signs. I'm seeing a lot of people have sloppy work and it looks like this. You want to make sure it does not look like that, okay? Instead, it should look more like this with a diagonal line down there, okay? And that is pretty much all that you need to know for today's lesson.